Proactive Management Consulting. Learn more right after this.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Welcome to Community Watch. Great. How you doing?
How you doing, bro?
I'm all right. Let me get these items out of your way.
I know. I mean, you starting already.
I tend to litter up the desk anyway, so.
But I've learned you work out of clutter, though. But I can't do that, but you're able to do that.
It's one of my issues. So, yeah. So things are well?
Things are great.
Now, this show is about an organization that you have close ties to, obviously.
It is Proactive Management Consulting. I mean, it is, mental health is one of those issues that I think as a society there's still this stigma around getting help. And we have a lot of people in our communities, a lot of people in our everyday lives actually, they have mental health issues that need to be addressed, but we're afraid to do that. And Proactive Management is one of those type of companies that provide mental health, to citizens. So I mean, it's a story, and it needs to be a movement to get more people help, and really, let's debunk that myth about mental health.
Well, sounds like one of those serious shows.
It's a serious show.
All right. I'll get my seriousness.
Yes.
All right. Well, we will be back with our guests right after this from Proactive Management Consulting, so stay with us. We'll be right back.
Seven 7,000 high school students drop out every school day. That's a line of desks more than 4 miles long. We can keep students in school. Visit boostup.org and take the first step.
Welcome back to Community Watch, and we're very, very pleased to have with us today Danette Hill and Eddie Lepet from Proactive Management Consulting. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Thank you for having us.
Well, I'm going to start this off because once I get to start, because I know you're going to just handle it. But since I know the least, which is normal on the show, if you could help me out by just telling me a little bit about what Proactive Management Consulting is.
Well, in a nutshell, Proactive Management Consulting is a behavioral health organization that works with families in their recovery process. And you guys alluded to it so well a little bit earlier, and we've talked about it before. So mental health is such a big issue for us in America that there are a lot of families that need our help. Danette Hill is our site director and our leader in the Rome area. We're based out of Atlanta and serve multiple counties, 10 counties, but we have a great leader here in Rome, and she has the clinical expertise, so she can probably go in a little bit more detail about the nuts and bolts of kind of the business.
Good. Help us out here a little bit.
I passed it to you.
Yes.
Hot potato.
There's a lot of children that have issues like attention deficit, ADHD, anger issues, post-traumatic stress disorder, a lot of things that are mental health issues, but are things that we can address on a short-term basis. And of course, there's other mental health issues that take more long-term. We have a very well-talented staff at our office. Can I tell you about them?
Sure.
We have 2 LCSWs, and that would be Frank Pratt III and Chris Burton.
No, I don't know what those letters mean.
Okay. It's a licensed clinical social worker.
Okay.
And they are
You knew that.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
they're able to diagnose and treat. They can also send you to the hospital.
Right.
We have several LMSWs, which are licensed masters of social work. We have Julia Stevens, Brandy Schultz, Hannah Chastain. We also have an LPC licensed practical counselor, and that's Keith Fricks. We have Rachel Pyle, who's also an LPC.
And all these people are crammed into one office? That's pretty...
It's a big office.
It is a big office. That's funny. Most of what makes us unique is most of the services that we provide are actually in the community.
Yeah.
So we're going into the homes of families that need us the most because research has shown that that's the most effective way to give this kind of treatment. And 1 in 10 Americans, 1 in 10 adults or 1 in 10 kids is working, it has a mental illness. 1 in 4 adults have a mental illness. And over 2/3 of the population don't go to get mental illnesses treated. So it's a pervasive issue, and it's going untreated for a lot of reasons. And we can go down the laundry list. We know specifically in the African American community and other communities, there's a stigma with mental health.
Well, you know what? I hate to cut you off, Eddie, but I know Doc is an expert on this because in our mentoring practices, and primarily with African American Latino males, we run into it all the time. You know that I'm just too strong. I'm tough. I can't go get mental health. I can't ask for help, and it is amazing how they manifest. And people don't even realize that they have some of these conditions, but it is so prevalent, in our community. And I mean, it's just sad sometimes when you really have so many young people with bright futures, but can be cut short their bright future because of issues that can be addressed. But, getting them to recognize that they need help and getting them to say, okay, I'm willing to work with someone is very difficult, as you know as an expert.
Yeah, well. But that would hold true not only for mental health issues, but all issues requiring help.
For sure, for sure. Doc, when you look in the juvenile justice system, 70% of the kids in the juvenile justice system are dealing with a mental illness. When you look at adults dealing with severe mental illness live 25 years shorter, have a 25-year shorter lifespan than other adults for treatable medical ailments. And this is documentation coming from NAMI, the National Association of Mental Illness. So it's a big issue. And we were talking about a story of a friend of mine, good friend of mine, who has been diagnosed with ADHD early on and depression. But all of our buddies just think that this guy is just acting up. Oh, he knows what's going on. He knows what he's doing. And they don't realize that it's a serious business. And you were telling a story. I love the analogy you gave about the broken arm.
I have a nephew that all throughout my family is just like, oh, he just needs to grow up. Oh, he just needs to get his life together. Oh, he just needs to do this and do that. So I asked my family, if he had a broken arm, would you give him a ton of stuff to carry? And they're like, no. Then don't expect him to be like you and I. So
He has something that's broken.
yes.
Yeah.
And it needs to be
Yes.
fixed. I do like that.
Absolutely, it's a great analogy. So really for us, it's fundamentally first, and the reason we're really appreciative of you all bringing us on is to build awareness that this is serious, that it's pervasive, and that if you have family members or friends that you think could be suffering from mental illness, find them help.
Yes.
And as Danette was saying, we have a great team, a long list of passionate, conscientious, credentialed,
Dedicated. Very
dedicated
dedicated,
team
yes.
members that know what they're doing, from psychiatrists all the way down to our paraprofessionals.
Well, let me ask you this then. So what is the process? Let's say Doc is working with one of his young men that just seems something is just not right. He's not sure. That's not his area of expertise. What is the process for getting someone help?
We have a lot of self-referrals, and that means that the family calls us and they say, hey, you know, this is what we need help with. And then we have an assessor who goes out to the home and asks a series of questions. It takes a little while, and completes an assessment. Then we assign them a team, a therapist and another person who's a support person. And then also we do the full range. We do psychiatric services, medical management, all the way to paring them down to services that they can have on a regular basis that's not as intense as what we provide.
Absolutely. And the goal is resiliency and recovery, which is, you know, which is a long-term process. It's a never-ending process, and I know you can speak to that. But we help them to identify the issues. We pair them with professionals that can help them give interventions that can help minimize the behavior, and then ultimately help them to lead a more fulfilling life. Did I get that right?
Yes, you did. Very good.
You know, what's fascinating to me is that when we talk about mental illness, it's almost like, you know, for some reason it's so taboo. But we see kids all the time, you know, in the job that I work at, those bad kids. And it's like, it's not really bad kids, they have bad behaviors.
Absolutely.
Right.
And a lot of those behaviors, they're not even aware of themselves. They don't even know why they're doing some of the things they're doing. But it's almost like as a community and as a society, you know, it's shameful to say someone, my child, my spouse, somebody has mental health issues. And I don't know how we debunk that, but we have to if we go, because those numbers you gave are startling. Yeah. And if we're going to start address that, we got to start addressing this whole thing about mental health as if something is wrong, because no one would hesitate to go to the hospital for a broken arm.
Exactly.
You go right away. But when it comes to mental health, we know we're very hesitant to get help for mental health.
So my sense is then someone comes to you, you do an evaluation,
Yes.
and then decide. I mean, because treatment comes not necessarily from your office, but you can direct them as needed.
We do provide services at our office. We
So-
have a clinic, and then we also do in-home services. We have a psychiatrist on staff, and most of our clients meet with her in the clinic.
But you did say if necessary, you could send someone to the hospital if that was
Yes.
needed, or
Yes.
Yeah.
right, so.
And then in terms of referrals, I mean, we partner with the school system, we partner with DFACS, with Department of Juvenile Justice. So when kids are either court mandated or where they're in the custody of Department of Children and Family Services, or they're having issues at school, then we are one of those companies that are known as a resource to be able to identify what's going on and help them to be more effective in their community life.
But see, that's great, Eddie. But my thing is, those cases tend to be already in the system and there's a problem. What I have found, I can remember me and you talking with my son. He was a teenager, looking for some anger management stuff for him. Is that kids that are not in the system, we got to get families to recognize that, you know, find help for your children before they get involved in the system.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the great things about proactive management. It's self-referral. So if you have a child, you're a parent, you know, you've done all that you can do, you've tried to get help, and you say, you can call proactive and say, look, this is what I'm dealing with. And you can go. So it doesn't have to be just some type of juvenile justice situation.
Right.
In fact, I would think if you look at the numbers, a healthy percentage of those people undiagnosed or in families that could pick up the phone, make a call, and probably even have the resources to get them help, but we just hesitant to do that.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, there are a lot of parents out there that are wondering what the boundaries that they're trying to set or the rules that they're trying to establish at home aren't getting through. You know, they're wondering why there may be a lack of attention or something is going on that they can't identify. And we can be a resource for that. But I also want to go back to the stigma thing. And we have to let people know it's okay. It's legitimate and it's okay to go get help. And that's the message I want to leave with.
Well, we've got to take a quick break here. When we come back, we'll have more discussion, so please stay with us.
Traditional light bulbs actually generate 9 times more heat than light. Switch to Energy Star light bulbs, and you'll realize just how much cash you were really burning through. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at EnergySavers.gov.
Welcome back to Community Watch, and we're having a conversation with Danette Hill, and we've been joined by Jennifer Clare of Proactive Management Consulting. Welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
All right, so is this juvenile mental issues, is that the focus of proactive management, or you go just across the board?
We do. We found that, especially working with children, that it's very important to include the entire family. If you don't work with the family to reinforce what the child is learning, the behaviors to change, then it's not going to work. The family has to be involved.
So it means that you can refer adults.
Yes.
Good, because I have a list. No. But I do want to ask, I mean, in the first segment, we're talking about the stigma of reporting either oneself or someone in one's family, but something that I'm seeing, or we've seen evidence of in the last few years, is the loss of mental health options.
Yes.
Northwest Regional was
Yes.
closed. Funding has been cut from that area of health, especially. So it seems to me, and maybe you can speak to this, it seems to me that there's kind of a disrespect for mental health on a larger scale. I mean, from state and national government scale.
If you drive out to Northwest Georgia Regional, you see how it's just like a ghost town out there. It's very, very sad because it was such an important part of our community. And now the focus is on in-home treatment, and that's where we come in.
Well, let me ask you, Danette. With in-home treatment, and I don't know the data, but is in-home? I guess you could make the argument that in-home is just as effective as being hospitalized. But I think sometimes people don't understand the difference in the severity. For instance, in-home treatment versus being in an actual clinic, you're really talking about a different level of severity. I mean, you're talking about someone, if you're going in a home and someone needing to be hospitalized, it's a different level. And I think sometimes the stigma comes with, because when you say mental health, we're thinking about that everybody must need to be hospitalized or something. But mental health can be much more relaxed than that. I mean, it can be something really where you're working with a therapist just one-on-one, hour a week at your house. It's not always about someone being so disturbed mentally that they have to be locked up. And I think that's one of the misconceptions, is that we have this, I always get this kind of, even myself, one who flew over the cuckoo nest type when we think about mental illness. And, that's not fair.
Right.
Because
we
know a lot of people, actually, when we really think about it, that have,
I don't think that hard, really. So Jennifer, what is your part in all of this?
I'm one of the clinicians, and so I'm one of the people that actually will go out into the homes to provide therapy for kids and for their families. And in my opinion, being able to go out into the home is actually vastly more beneficial even to us than seeing people in our clinic, because we are able to see the environment in which our kids, these adults, are living in, and be able to be more in touch with what's actually going on in their lives. Because there's only so much that people are going to want to report to you that you may pick up by going into the home as to what else is going on that may be instigating or creating additional problems on top of what they're already having.
Well, what are, I guess, some are there ADHD issues that you're dealing with in particular? Is it just a broad spectrum of things?
I deal with a broad spectrum of things. I work with people who have problems with ADHD, who have problems with anger management, who have severe depression, who have bipolar disorder, who have conduct disorders. I deal with a wide range of clients. And a lot of times with our clients and with a lot of people who have mental illnesses is it's not just one problem that's going on. There's often 1, 2, or 3 problems that it's gotten to the point that they're all interlocking, they're all creating problems and overlapping.
So, when you go out into a home, is there, you're looking for, I'm curious how that approach is different from in an office setting.
Well, in an office, they're coming to you, and when people are coming to you in the office, when you go out to see your doctor, a lot of people will take a little bit of time to, put on that mask, put on that I'm going out into public shell. Whereas when you're going into their home, that's their environment, that's their safe place. And so they feel more relaxed and more able to open up about what's actually going on themselves. We are able to take that top layer off and get a little bit deeper under the surface as to who that person really is, to be able to help them fully.
So maybe that approach allows you to figure out what's going on more quickly than the more traditional.
Figure out what's going on more quickly, and even help tailor our interventions specifically to that person, because we're able to see who they are, what type of person they are, a lot more quickly, so that we can tailor our treatment to them, because that's really what we want to do. Is every individual is different and needs their own individual plan as to what's going to work.
We can also, when we're in the home, we can catch things that maybe the family doesn't catch with medication management. If they're prescribed a new medication and the therapist is in the home the next week and it picks up on something that just isn't right, then Jennifer or another therapist can report that back to our psychiatrist, and we can get to work on that.
One thing that I'm thinking that one of the benefits is that you may not necessarily see in the clinic is family dynamics.
Yes.
Because when you go to the doctor, you go to a clinic, we have that public, that face, that mask.
Yeah.
But when you're in the home, you see the family dynamics, and especially after a while of going into a home and the family becomes comfortable with you, you really start to see how the family interact. And that becomes very vital, because you realize, okay, there may be some anger issues with this kid, but okay, I can see some of the reasons, or I can see what's kind of the catalyst for that. So I think there's a huge benefit to that. But I think also, I think the human element of it. I'm a firm believer, and we know this. We deal with people every day, but we're very particular about who comes into our home. And even as professionals, we're very particular. I just think you're able to touch people when you interact with them in their own environment. It's a lot different than interacting in a somewhat sterile environment. I think it's hard to touch the human element of a person like that. And so I think that is one of the benefits of Proactive, is that they do have that services that I think stays in contact with the human being person, and not just a client, but it's hard to interact with a family in their own environment and not be able to touch on some of those human elements.
So I can see how that approach would help you in figuring things out. But what are the ways that it benefits the patient to be treated in that environment?
It's sometimes as simple as we do work with a lot of clients who don't necessarily have the transportation or the finances to be able to get out to a clinic multiple times a week to receive the treatment that we could provide. And so sometimes it's as simple as being able to provide them treatment that they would otherwise be unable to receive. At other times it is beneficial because the whole family it's often difficult to get an entire family to, okay, we're going to get in the car, we're going to go to the clinic, we're going to have this family session. That can become a hassle, and a lot of family members may not want to participate, whereas if you're going into the home where they already are, you're able to more readily engage those more resistant family members.
And our treatment team is always very aware that we are a guest in their home. And we're very respectful of the family and all of their idiosyncrasies, you might say, of their home. And we are very respectful. And if somebody wants to come to our clinic rather than have them have us in their home, we're receptive to that too.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm curious about folks who self-report or families that refer a family member, because I would think that individuals or family members might not be the best diagnosticians, if that's the right word. They may sense something is wrong, but really
Not
not.
sure what
So, do you get a lot of calls or cases that maybe are not as big a problem as people think, or
We get calls from people who say, you know what, my neighbor was having problems with her child and I see such a big difference, can you help us? And they might not know exactly what their child's diagnosis is. The child might never have been diagnosed.
Yeah.
And we do the testing and then we know where to go from there.
Because hasn't there been a change recently in the kinds of behaviors that students, I guess, exhibit that will allow them to go to like the YDC or seems like I heard that there's been a change. Things have to be much more extreme.
Yeah, well, the
now.
state is moving toward a more community-based services. And so before they were, and because there was a lot of other reasons, so I mean, it was some unfair practices, but the state has moved forward. In order to lock a kid up now, detain a kid, you really have to justify it. It just can't be something, just kind of, just, you have to justify it. Yeah, it has to be serious because with all systems, we have some inequalities and some issues with them. So now, but they're looking more for community-based services for families.
Right. Well, we're coming up on another break. When we get back, we'll give you some contact information or ways you can get more information. So stay with us, get something to write with. We'll be right back.
Packers. Viking. Packers. Viking. Viking.
Red State. Blue State. Vegan.
Carnivore.
We come from different places.
Uptown.
Downtown.
Optimist.
We come to different conclusions.
Half empty.
Half full.
But when we live united, we create real, lasting change in the building blocks of life. The education, income, and health of our communities, our families,
United.
even the person next to us.
Live united.
Real change won't happen without you. So give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Sign up at liveunited.org.
Welcome back to Community Watch. We've been talking about Proactive Management Consulting, and they are located at 111 Bridgepoint Plaza at the Wells Fargo Advisory Building. The phone number there is 706-232-3070, and the website is proactive-management.com. And Danette wants to name all these folks that she didn't get to name, so they won't be mad at her.
We have a great support staff who support our therapists, Verena Bray, Kendall Baldock, Amanda Clemens, Angela Carter, Darian Nunn, Jerome Parks, Joyce Coomer, and Greg Shropshire.
Well, I'm glad they're not
make
going to be
a
mad.
referral.
I'm glad they're not going to be mad.
I'm going to make a referral.
Well, I want to thank our guests. I want to thank you for joining us this week. We'll see you next time on Community Watch.